What's up, guys? Welcome to Road Atlanta. So this will be our GT4 lap guide, of course, with the fixed setup in the Porsche. So Road Atlanta, it took me a little bit to really get this dialed. I'm still missing, a few tenths to be at the very pointy end of everything. But with that being said, this lap reference is a 24.8, 124.8. Now, I think the average strength of field pace is probably going to be mid 25s, low 26s. Now, with that being said, we have to be very, very aggressive around this place. We're going to be taking a lot of curbing. You're going to be jumping the car quite a bit. It's definitely an intense lap to get all the speed out of the car. So with that being said, we'll jump up to starting this lap out. Now coming up to turn one, there's a little bit of a trick here to drive across this little section of the grass and use this outside connecting patch of asphalt to really help open up the corner. Now it's really tricky to get the timing of all your inputs if you're trying to open the corner up this much. So as you're learning it and as you start out your laps around Road Atlanta, I do recommend to stay kind of on the white line. You can open it up a little bit maybe after you get over here, but it's going to be easiest to stay on this white line. Now we're going to brake right before that asphalt patch starts. Get the car turned in. We're going to use pretty light brake pressure. Turn one is almost not even considered an actual braking zone because really we're just trailing into the corner. On exit it goes uphill and there's all kinds of space on exit for us to use. So we're not going to use a ton of brake pressure here. Now it might be a little bit tricky to see, but this ground that we're driving over has just a little bit of a hump. So you'll notice it when you're in cockpit view. You can see it a little bit better. So as we're trailing and then coming over that crest just lightly, that's going to be kind of a cue for a downshift. And that's going to help rotation getting over to the apex. So let's get back to where we need to be here. Trailing into the corner. We can touch the apex curbing here. You can even get on it if you want. Now some of the GT4s, the Porsche in particular on the fixed setup is very bouncy coming off of this. So I like to either get very close or just kiss it. If you're getting into the grass, you get a bump coming up the curb, you drop into the grass, and then you get a bump coming over the curb and back onto the track. So this is going to push you wide, just like all the other major curves we've seen in the last couple weeks. It's going to delay rotation. It's really going to hurt the lap. So definitely stay out of the grass. We can get, like I said, on top of this or just brush up against it, and that's going to be ideal. Now with that being said, we can get on throttle really early. It's uphill once again. Now coming into turn two, this is arguably the trickiest spot to get consistent. Now when I'm coming up the hill, we have two sets of trees here. So this right side tree is what I'm aiming for coming up. And then once we start to crest the hill, I'm going to start backing off of the throttle ever so slightly. And then for this group of trees here on the left, we want to act like we're going to drive just on the left side of them. Like we're going to imagine if we're coming up the hill, we want to brush the right side of the car up against it. That's kind of the direction that we want the car to head in. So coming up, we can see the car is kind of pointed right past on the left-hand side. Now once we come up the hill, we can see this curbing here, and that's where we're going to want to land. Once we get parallel with this curbing on the left-hand side, we want to brake in a straight line. It's going to be a pretty aggressive braking zone here. And then as we come to the end of this curbing, that's going to be our turn-in position. Now I'm going from fourth gear down to third, once again to help aid in rotation. We're going to kiss the curb here. If we're taking this much of the apex, you're going to get an incident point or an off track. So we want to avoid this. It also jumps the car and makes it really hard to catch on exit, so be mindful of that. And then on exit, we don't necessarily want to track all the way out to the curbing. We can definitely get really close. This is a long sweeper, so you can still carry quite a bit of speed here. But if we track all the way out against the curbing, that's going to make it very difficult to put the power down through this left-hander. So something to play with. A lot of it is going to be timing as far as when you're coming off the apex here. So ideally we want to set the car up to point in that direction right when that sweeper starts to bend left. If you're coming out to the straight, you're carrying a little too much speed through here, so try to dial back that braking zone and turn in a little bit earlier. Now coming into the S's, this section can be a little scary and a little loose. So we have our curbing here on the left-hand side. This curbing, you can use it for turn-in entry, but I find it makes the car a little loose on that turn-in coming down the hill. So it's something that I avoid, but be happy to try that out. So that is going to be my turn-in marker. We're going to catch this right-hand side curbing, and the car is going to feel like it wants to understeer off the track to the left. But because this is downhill, the car will grip up once you get to the bottom. We're going to hit this left-hand side curbing. And then coming here, we can see there's really three sections of this this apex curbing here. So we've got it coming out, it being straight, and then it tucks back in. We want to line the car up to be on this straight. We're going to put our right side tires on the curbing. And we want to get the car turned, or at least started to turn, before we come off. If you're turning after you've already got on the asphalt, it's a little too late. You're going to understeer into this gravel trap here. And then we also try to catch a little bit of the curbing here. That's going to help put the weight on the right side of the car and help grip it up on exit. We can jump quite a bit of this without getting an off track. If you go much further than that, if we're starting to cross over here, you will get an incident point here, and that means you also carried a little too much speed or turned in a little too late, and that's also going to jump the car, and I've hit this wall several times trying to get all that dialed out, so just be mindful of that. Coming up to the double right-hander, I'm going to use the 200 board as my braking marker. I'm going to downshift into fourth, and then downshift into third right at apex to help with that rotation again. We can get on the power super early because this is uphill. Once we hit the curbing on the left-hand side, that's going to be our cue to start braking. We're going to get the car slowed down, and we want to get the rotation done before apex. That way we can get on throttle early. If you find the car is pointed straight and you're making it out to the curbing before you're getting on throttle, that is an indication that you're not braking soon enough or you're not getting the rotation early enough. So this is going to be a really important corner to be very patient and very precise. If you don't get a good run on this back straight, you're definitely at risk to lose lots of positions. It's going to hurt your lap time, etc., etc. Now, coming down the back straight, there's multiple ways to handle the situation, especially in a racing scenario. If you're looking to perform an overtake, most of the time the outside line is going to be preferred, and we'll kind of get to that once we get up to the chicane. If you're defending, I'd once again recommend to be on the outside. The inside works too, but you have to cut off so much of your speed at the apex of our turn-in at the left-hander of the chicane. This can hurt your speed for that overtake. It'll also give you a really bad exit coming into the second half of it. So something to try, but I do recommend to be on the outside for both situations. We're going to brake about a car length to a car length and a half before the 100 board. We're going to get up on this curbing. Now this is a little bit of a weird section as well. Coming into the braking zone, there actually is a little bit of a crest in the surface. So we're coming downhill. There's a little bit of a hump, and then the track drops down into like a little bit of a camber section here at apex. So I like to get that last downshift, that turn in after I crest the hill. If you do it beforehand, it wants to overslow the car a little bit. It feels a little bit awkward. So something else to play with there. Now we can take quite a bit of curbing I got super lucky coming through here. If you're any further left, it's definitely going to be an off track. Now to back it up a little bit, like all the chicanes we've seen in the previous 3 weeks, this is a corner that we want to keep tight on exit, and then that's going to allow us to get on throttle one time and very early for the run out and up the hill. If you're tracking out to the right hand side here, that is going to hurt your exit speed coming out of the second section. Now going back to the overtakes and defending, because we're going to keep it so tight here for a faster lap time, this is a good place where you can carry more speed around the outside. So you can go door to door, you can hold off that attack around the outside, or you can make the outside move work to make that pass happen. We just need to make sure that we're alongside the car as we're exiting the left-hander. That's going to compromise their speed as well, making it up the right. We get on throttle one time. We can take quite a bit of curbing here too. Now this little section here is going to be very tricky to not get an off track. This is about the limit. So that tire barely creeps over the curbing coming onto the track. If you have a full tire width going into the grass, that is going to be an off track as well. You can track out far here, and then this is going to set up our angle coming over the hill into the last corner. So right now we have a steering angle set from exiting our chicane. We kind of want to hold that as we're coming over the hill. If you're all the way out to the left, it's going to cause the car to understeer as you're cresting the hill, and we can wind out into the grass here, or have to lift and ruin our run onto the start-finish straight. So we want to stay off to the right-hand side. We can even take a little bit of grass if that's what it comes down to. So we'll cut that blend line, come down the hill, and right at the end of this curbing, that is our turn-in marker. We can take curbing here if you'd like. You can stay off of it. I haven't found much of a difference either way. And that's going to be our lap around Road Atlanta. So now we're going to watch it in cockpit view. I did have some recommendations last week to back this up a little bit, so that way we can see the gear changes. I do drive at a pretty low field of view at 62, so this is a little wonky for me, so hopefully this doesn't distort y'all as well. But here we go. All right, so something I do want to add, especially for the chicane. So I am taking it in third gear through here. Now, setting up the corner correctly to get third gear to work is a little bit tricky. So if you do have to downshift into second, that's okay too. There's not a ton of time gain between that third and second gear, but staying in third will give you a proper run out of the corner. Second, the car is a little on edge, so it's a little harder to put the power down on exit, but play around with it, see what works best for you. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to message one of the coaches in the Discord or drop a comment here. Best of luck for this week's officials, and we'll see you guys next week.